Cult Pod, the only podcast with an actual cult following, hosted by your cult leader, Tompott.
Oh, that theme song, man, I've missed it, and boy does it bang! Okay, what the hell is this that you're listening to? This is the Pop Cult Pod live, kinda? It's a taste of what the Pop Cult Pod live is going to be. It's a taster, and you can't spell taster without T-E-S-T, because this is sort of a test. Okay, this is basically live at this moment. It's streaming live, it's just not going to the regular YouTube channel. It's kind of hopefully going to be the last test. So if this test goes well, it's also the first episode. So now I say it's the first episode, but I don't want to commit to all the other things until I know for a fact that everything is ready to go. So for example, graphics and music and that kind of thing are a bit hit and miss here and there. But when it actually goes live, which will hopefully be sometime next week, probably the week after actually, it's going to be complete at that point. So hopefully this will give you a taste of what we're aiming for, and hopefully it's pretty good. Hopefully, I said hopefully like 4 times there. A lot of hope got in here. Right, anyway, Pop Cult Pod Live, this is what we're looking at. This is the future, and I picked a bad time to launch, maybe? He said questioningly, because for one half, like, there's not a lot of news, but on the other half, people are starving for content, so, you know. But basically it means that our news story, I could almost predict them every week, is going to be something got delayed. And yeah, I mean, I might as well have a weekly Tenet update the way things are going. Did I say Tenet? Or Tenet. Christopher Nolan's latest film. Okay, that's coming out in August. I don't have an update on it yet. I mean, it could well be delayed. I mean, considering America is kind of getting a bit worse, and apparently the mayor of LA is going to shut down, meaning that if LA shuts down, that's when the massive film market's gone, and as a result, pretty much everything's going to be delayed, and that's apparently why Monster Hunter was delayed. Monster Hunter starring Mila Jovovich. Someone said, move, Jovich, get out the way. Because Monster Hunter is delayed and severely pushed back. It was originally meant to come out September 4th this year. It is now not coming out till April of next year. I was going to say this anticipated movie. It's not really, I don't think. It's one of the odd ones where I don't know if Monster Hunter fans are really looking forward to it. And I mean, really, is anyone else? It looks, I mean, I think this is all we've got actually. Mila Jovovich with the sword, which, you know, by that logic, 5 stars. Like, it could be Resident Evil. It could be something else. It could be something halfway decent. It could just be some crap B-movie thing. They were like bragging. Paul W.S. Anderson, not to be confused with Paul Thomas Anderson, came out and was like, oh, we got like these 50 to 60 foot CGI monsters. And I was like, I don't know, this really reminds me of Hellboy. Like the reboot, which is fine. Again, it was an okay film, I guess. But anyway, yeah, Monster Hunter's been delayed. Not much else to go on about that movie where it's going to be any good. What I find very interesting is some people are saying, okay, well, does this mean that we're not going to get any movie up from September? Well, possibly. I mean, really, let's be realistic. The only 2 movies kind of standing against all this at the moment are Tenet and Mulan, who are both August releases as of now, I believe. But the big question is, why is it moving? Is this basically mean that Far Beyond the summer movie season is dead because of the coronavirus? I mean, good chance of that. I think the other thing is that they're kind of hoping to free up a few spaces. Like, let's not forget this. Movies being delayed is good. It makes sense, but you don't want people going to cinema when there's going to be a danger. But you're going to get massive backlog of releases. Things are going to get really, really crammed right now. I mean, for example, Monster Hunter is opening up with Edgar Wright's latest film at the moment, and that's, you know, I mean, we're not going to speculate how that goes. We haven't seen much of either of those films yet. There is going to be a massive crunch in some sections, and as a result of that, trying to find a new home for some movies is going to be pretty severe. Some movies, like the big blockbuster movies, can afford to just push every now and then. But this movie that's kind of hit or miss will need to stake its ground early. And that's why we're moving a movie 7 months away from its current date. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I was speaking of Tenet there, and I was saying how kind of these big budget movies can kind of just do whatever they want. They can just move every now and then, and they can. But the other thing is that it's basically going to burn a hole as far as marketing goes. Like they have to try to get a marketing campaign going, and of course, there's going to be some easily done marketing stuff. But hey, this is the only movie out right now. It's probably the only movie you've heard about in the news for a while, and that's true. Certainly of Tenet, everyone has been discussing its release strategy and what's going on. But I just watched the latest UFC event, and it was Tenet coming to theaters August 12th, Christopher Nolan's latest film. That's not a guarantee, and that ain't coming cheap. So you can't keep continually putting money into your marketing. And there's been a lot of debate about Tenet. I've spoken about it in test broadcasts before, because it's seemingly one of the main news stories is what does Warner Brothers do with Tenet, and what is Christopher Nolan's goal, and what is his plan. So that's something certainly that we'll have more updates on, I'm sure. But regardless, we have, of course, the big delay of Monster Hunter. But it's not the only movie delayed this week, because we also got the unfortunate news that Halloween Kills has been delayed. And this is what I was talking about earlier when I said that movies that are being delayed are going to have to make big jumps. And that really sucks for movies that are seasonal. For example, a Christmas movie doesn't make sense to open it in summer. I'm looking at you, Die Hard. If it is a Christmas movie, which I think I settled that debate a couple of episodes ago, no big deal. Halloween Kills, yeah, it's a Halloween movie. We don't know how much of this movie was done. I believe, though, that it had basically wrapped its filming. I mean, maybe they would have gone back for reshoots had this whole thing not kicked off. But if it can't come out this October, going to have to come out next October. And that is the case. It has been delayed a whole year. So it's a shame, because this is one of the movies I'm really looking forward to. And we actually got a trailer for it announcing this, which we'll get to in Trailer Trash, which is still around. Hey, it's a shame, because it does look great. It's a movie I'm very excited for. We're going to need to get used to this, though. There's a lot of movies that are just going to go, and we're not going to see them for a long time. Some of the big movies as well. It's hard to call. I'm not going to make any bold predictions, but I do think that there's a good chance some of the big blockbuster movies from this season are going to be pushed significantly into next year. Because another thing that people aren't even considering anymore is that there's such a big gap in movies that have been able to film that there's going to be their spots to fill as well. So some stuff could be pulled off the release calendar for at least a year. And that is certainly the case with Monster Hunter. Well, Monster Hunter was 7 months, which is still pretty significant. And I could even move beyond that. Who knows? But it's certainly the case with Halloween Kills. Well, speaking of Halloween things, monsters and that kind of thing, we did get a new movie, surprisingly. We got a new discussion of a movie, a new reveal of a film, and that's that Leigh Whannell, director of The Invisible Man and Upgrade, is going to take on the Wolfman. Ow! That wasn't very good. I'm trying to be quiet. I'm not trying to be too loud and blow up people's eardrums. Leigh Whannell, of course, as I said, he directed Invisible Man, which is a huge success, and was kind of an indication that the monsters aren't all dead, even though it's kind of considered that they're... I mean, do I need to talk about the Dark Universe again? The Dark Universe was Universal's idea of, let's make a kind of connected universe with all these monsters, and of course it failed. It had Tom Cruise as the Mummy. I think someone actually pointed out they had like a Twitter account. I think it was 2 years ago, maybe more than that now, 3 years ago maybe, where they put out a tweet with like all these actors being like, yes, right, get ready for the Dark Universe, and they haven't tweeted since because the Mummy sucked. And they've gone the right direction now. They've made smaller budget horror films, which is what everyone always said they should be. And with The Invisible Man, that led to a massive success. It made a lot of money before cinemas closed, and of course it went on demand early and did very well there as well. What's interesting now is that Leigh Whannell is coming back to this, so whether or not he's going to be the main person behind this whole monster universe remains to be seen, but there's certainly been a lot of renewed interest in these properties, and there's other projects in development. But the reason this one is most interesting is that Ryan Gosling is apparently going to star in it, which is like, like, we kind of picture Ryan Gosling as one of these people who kind of is very selective about his projects, and certainly a lot of big name actors don't really attach themselves to horror, certainly not monster movies. But what's even weirder is he apparently pitched the story and it's now being written. So what does that mean? It means that there must be something pretty interesting. to get Lee Winnell interested. It must be something. I want to see what Ryan Gosling wants out of a Wolfman movie, for one. So, yeah, Gosling himself was reportedly eyed to helm the project and direct at one point, which would have marked his second venture behind the camera. But after talks with the studio, both parties agreed it would be better for the Oscar nominee to remain in an actor capacity. Winnell, of course, is kind of sticking with the monster thing after Invisible Man. This is again produced by Blumhouse, which was one of the big deals with the last film, The Invisible Man. So what exactly this is going to be, I don't know. Hopefully it comes to fruition. It seems like everyone is on board, and I can't imagine a movie with Ryan Gosling as the Wolfman isn't going to get made. But regardless, that's where what we're with. We have a Wolfman movie from Ryan Gosling. I can't wait for that. That sounds really, really interesting. But then again, I'm a big monster aficionado, so this isn't the first time they've tried to make the Wolfman relevant for a modern audience. They did the Wolfman, not surprisingly. I think it was in 2008, which was massively over budget, underperformed, and was a bit of a disaster. But that was a much more big budget film, and even though it was R-rated, perhaps with a smaller budget, and well, I mean, maybe I can't say with a name like Ryan Gosling, because stars don't necessarily make movies anymore. Certainly, Ryan Gosling attached didn't help Blade Runner, but hopefully we can get a Wolfman movie that's A, good, and B, an interesting take on the character that isn't overdone, which is the case with a lot of these. What's even more interesting is that obviously I guess it's because of the success of The Invisible Man. Hollywood tends to just, one thing is a success and then the floodgates open for these type of projects. We got another monster project here, and I don't have a picture to go along with this because this only broke not that long ago. I think it was just over the weekend. The director of Toy Story 4, Josh Cooley, is going to make Little Monsters for Universal. Of course, Universal are also making The Wolfman with Ryan Gosling. They just made The Invisible Man, and of course, when we think classic monsters, it's Universal monsters. He is taking an all-ages approach to the studio's classic monster characters. I'm reading this from The Hollywood Reporter. And it's apparently based on the work of a concept artist called Crash McCreary. It's just such a badass name. He's worked on Jurassic World, Kong, Skull Island, and Rango. And the idea is that it's going to be kind of an all-ages one. It's something that kids can get into, tying all these properties together, a blend of animation and live action, apparently, which sounds really interesting. Because, okay, I don't know what they mean by all ages. Does that mean it's a kids' movie adults can enjoy? Does that mean it's something like, Avengers? Obviously that's a little bit different. But I just mean, is this kind of one that they're hoping will get every quadrant of the audience like a massive Marvel movie would be? Because in some ways, if this was a success and if they did it right, this is the start of your monster universe. If they do it in a certain way, this could launch into, well, you like this character as they join together. Here's their separately. I think that might be maybe just wishful thinking on my part, but yeah, live action hybrid monster movie is what it's being called. We don't know anything else about it. It's very early on, but I'm interested in this, man. Monsters are making a comeback, which is shocking. Apparently this is the time for monsters. Things weren't scary or creepy enough. It's time for monsters, but it's not a time for witches, as we heard this week with Sabrina on Netflix, or give it its full title, The Chilling Adventures of Sabrina, was cancelled at Netflix. I say cancelled. It feels odd to say cancelled because this is a weird story, man. Right. First of all, look, I'm all over the place. Sabrina is probably one of Netflix's bigger shows at the moment. Certainly, it's one that a lot more people are aware of than their standard releases, and it has been a big hit from all indications. Now, the fourth part 4, as they're calling it. I don't want to get technical, but the fourth part 4, is going to release really, really soon, as far as I know, and it's going to be the final part, but it wasn't really presented as a finale, apparently. Now, we are aware, and certainly of more recently, that Netflix have a kind of an unwritten rule that Season 3 and Season 4 is generally about the point where they kill off shows. So is that the reason Sabrina is done? I'm not so sure. Sabrina is a spin-off of Riverdale, which is a Warner Brothers show, of course. Most of those shows air on the CW. They just launched HBO Max. I don't know what happened here. I'm not sure if it is a case where HBO Max didn't want a possibly big show on a separate on a separate streaming service like Netflix. They didn't want to give them any content. That could be a reason for one. Now, the other thing we have to remember is that even though they do cancel it, good chance that doesn't mean they can bring it back. Of course, most comparable example is Marvel with their Netflix shows. They weren't allowed to bring those Netflix shows back for 2 years, and they probably won't anyway, to be honest. But the big question is, why was this cancelled, and is the cancellation definite? Is there a chance this could come back on HBO Max? We don't know. This is just all speculation on my part, but it's certainly one that raised a lot of eyebrows, because even like the creators were like, yeah, here's what we were doing for part 5. It was going to be a big witch battle, which sounds like that is something that they had no indication was going to be the end. And it certainly is a big show. A lot of people seem to enjoy it, but apparently this is the end of the road for Sabrina, which is a shame if you're a fan of the show. I quite enjoyed what I saw of it, but I didn't get fully immersed in that world. Could come back. We will see. Certainly could be a case where this show is unfortunately the victim of intercompany politics, which I wonder as well if this is a case that we could see more and more as all these networks start their own streaming services. Are there going to be shows that are run by certain networks that are now going to be killed off unceremoniously, possibly even unfairly as a result of that? But regardless, another show, well, actually a movie, that has got itself a pretty controversial news, surprisingly, is Chicken Run. Right, the most controversial thing of the week is about stop motion chickens, a sequel to a film over 20 years old. Okay, let's just get, now that we have that out there, right? Chicken Run. If you hadn't heard the news, Chicken Run just recently turned 20, I believe. I think the original came out in the year 2000, I believe. And there was, rumors the last while that they were working on a sequel. And a couple of weeks back, we heard that Chicken Run was getting a sequel and that it was going to be partnering with Netflix. Aardman, of course, who gave us Wallace and Gromit and the original and Flushed Away and all these things, were working on a sequel. They were partnering with Netflix. And hey, great news, Chicken Run sequel. First one was great from what I remember, but I haven't seen it in a long time. Production was apparently going to start next year. And we heard straight away, hey, Mel Gibson isn't back, which everyone was like, understandable, great. And then news broke that a lot of the original cast wouldn't be back. Now, I can't say I remember a lot of the original cast, but one person who's certainly gotten a lot of attention is the lead of Chicken Run, who plays Ginger, I think it is, actress Julia Swathi. I butchered her name. I think it's Julia or Julie Swatha. That's definitely not how you're saying her name. Let me Google this. Julia Swalha, sorry. So, Julia Sawalha. What? Sawalha. Oh, who cares? Okay. Apologies to Julia. Don't worry, I'm on your side in this fight. I'll get to. Julia Sawalha was the voice, the lead of Chicken Run. Okay? Now, as we've said, the first Chicken Run came out 20 years ago. And as a result of that, naturally, Julia, like everyone, has aged. How dare she, apparently? Because Aardman were like, we're going to, go a different way. We're going to get someone else to voice the character because you're too old. Yeah. Yikes. That is something that you should not say. The thing is, right, and it's really weird. First of all, there's a problem we have to kind of address. And I say we, I mean Hollywood, get your shit together, right? There's a real problem where, like, actors and men, like male actors can just continue to play a role, come back to the role. But a lot of female characters, it's just kind of like, and actresses, the roles just really dry up at a certain point. And that's a serious problem. And whatever about that, what were Aardman thinking about literally coming out and saying, you're too old? What, like, if they really wanted to do it, they could have just said, we're going a different direction. Left it at that. But they literally said, you're too old. Which pissed off a lot of people. And none more than Julia, who decided to say, you think I'm too old? Fine. I'll show you. I will do the voice as I did it back in the day. So go online and find this. She put it up on our Vimeo page. She re-recorded the lines of her character from the original. They're, I mean, perfect. Like you could close your eyes and you barely notice the difference, which is amazing. First of all, I thought there would be a change of voices. Like when you look at, say, a show that's running for 20 years, like Simpsons, you can kind of hear a change in the voices a bit. But like here, it's like, whoa, it's almost like she's a great voice actress, which clearly she is. But regardless, it seems like there hasn't been a response to this. Certainly got a lot of traction online. Will Netflix and Aardman reverse their decision? See, the other thing is that, and like, here's the thing, right? Again, I don't remember the rest of the voice cast particularly, but Mel Gibson was like the big name, right? But like your lead was like, I know disrespect to Julia, she's not a massive name, you know. And in an age where we have so many animated films that have voice cast where it's just built on the name of the celebrity, it's nice to get someone who feels authentic and who can just do a great voice acting job. And clearly that was the case 20 years ago. They picked someone who sounded right for the character, and she still sounds right for the character. So it's not right that she lost her job. Certainly the idea that she loses her job because of age is unacceptable. I mean, that's unfortunately something that's creeped into live action roles. It's something that shouldn't continue into voice roles. Okay? So I wonder as well, this is kind of, I don't think it's a case that Netflix were like, hey, we need certain, big name actors. So but it's even sadder to think that it's Aardman, because they really never kind of chased celebrity voices. They kind of went for someone who suited the part, it seemed. So this is a story that's kind of unfinished. Is she going to get the role back, like she very rightly should? And it seems like certainly the public opinion is absolutely on her side. And I don't see why it wouldn't be, because she delivered her lines as good as she did originally. So hopefully we'll have an update on this and it'll be a positive one. I just don't get it. Like, I really hate the trend of just getting celebrities to do voice acting. Like, there's plenty of talented voice actors there who could do a better job to begin with. And also, I don't want a trend where we just rehire people, don't rehire people because time has passed for a voice acting role. Like, I don't get it personally. But hopefully that's the end of it. Speaking of things that are coming back, Gotham is coming back. I probably just pissed off a lot of people by saying that. Okay, Gotham is not coming back. Kind of. Okay, this is a confusing one, right? I mentioned HBO Max. Okay, this is Warner Brothers streaming service. Okay, which has garnered much confusion in its launch and criticism since I've been off air. The basic thing you need to realize is that it's owned by Warner Bros. And as a result, the same way that Marvel is going to Disney and Disney are exploring their catalogue of IPs, Warner Bros. Are doing the same. And if there's any hot property at Warner Bros., it must be Batman. And they have a Batman movie coming out, don't you know, with Robert Pattinson, called The Batman. I've been delayed, but I can't remember when it comes out. Maybe 2022 now? It was meant to come out October next year, I think, but that's probably not the case now. So, they announced that they are making a Gotham PD series. Now, Gotham PD, Gotham PD was a comic book that was really, really acclaimed. Took place, of course, in the Gotham Police Department while Batman was around, but it didn't focus on Batman, it focused on the police officers and that kind of thing. Now, all of that being said, you might remember, cast your mind back, was it a year? 2 years ago? It doesn't feel like 2 years ago. In fact, it probably was just a year ago. Fox TV had Gotham, which followed the Gotham Police Department in a world without Batman. Okay. I'll say this, okay? First of all, the Gotham PD One Come to HBO Max is set in the world of Rob Pattinson's Batman. The idea they have said is that it's meant to take place kind of before Batman and show how Gotham got to be this crime-infested kind of cesspool that it is. So that's an interesting idea, and they've got some very talented people involved. They've got the director involved, Matt Reeves, and they have Terrence Winter, who, one of the best TV writers ever. I mean, his work on Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire, and the list goes on. Like, you couldn't get a better person for the job, okay? Based on that, I'm sure the quality of this will be pretty good, most likely. It's got great source material. It's got great people involved. Apparently, Jeffrey Wright is going to come in as Commissioner Gordon, along with some other actors from the movie. But it comes down to this: do we need this? Like, if we just had a whole series about Gotham, and look, I will admit, I tried getting into Gotham like 2 or 3 times. Wasn't for me. I just couldn't get into it. I heard it got better. I tried to stick with it. I couldn't even get through the first season. Okay, now it's for some people, and certainly the tone will be different because one is network, one is, going to streaming service, so it'll presumably be darker. But are we just running out of? Sorry, isn't there much better stories we can tell? Is what I'm trying to say. Got a hiccup there. Surely there's better stories we can tell from the comic books, and one of the reasons that a lot of people kind of dislike Warner Bros. Handling it at DC is that for years it was Batman, Superman. And now it's just like, it feels like we're just getting too much Batman again. And yes, I love Batman, but there is such a thing as too much Batman. Okay? It's interesting because, again, it ties into a movie universe, which is interesting as well because we've been told that Matt Reeves' movies are going to be a standalone thing, a separate thing. And of course, this comes on the heels that Michael Keaton is coming back as Batman. So, maybe they could always bring that character over to the other universe in the Flash movie if they wanted. So, we're getting another Gotham Police Department series. And there's great people involved, great potential. But been there, done that, kind of. I don't know. I'd be much more excited for this if we hadn't just had Gotham for like 5 years. Okay, and like it feels like they're also said that Batman's not going to be in the new series, so it's like, are we just going to repeat ourselves? And maybe you can get some interesting villains and that kind of dynamic, but I don't know. Having a Batman series without Batman. I just always found that kind of troubling because, first of all, if it's a prequel, we know all the characters that live and die in a lot of cases. In some cases, at least, obviously, like Gordon's not going to die. So it kind of takes away some of the stakes in that department. But you also have the fact that if Batman's villains are going to be in it, like, do they just constantly get away from the police? And if they don't get away from the police, if the police could just take care of Gotham's villains, why do we need Batman? I don't know. I've mixed thoughts in it, but certainly it's coming. It's coming to HBO Max. They don't have a lot of original programming from what I've heard. Probably one of the more ambitious things they've announced. We'll see how it goes. I don't know. Regardless, let's move on from that, and we'll have a bit of our trailer trash. Okay? I will say this, as I said, graphics and music are coming. But then again, I think this one might actually stay. I have worked on something like a graphic for in between the sections for trailer trash, but this just kind of seems so appropriate that maybe I'll just leave it like this.
This is the theme for trailer.
This is the theme for trailer. This is the theme for trailer trash. Get in the bin.
Get in the bin.
Get in the bin. We were talking about Halloween Kills. We got a trailer for Halloween Kills. It's more of a kind of an announcement trailer that the movie is delayed. It's playing here behind me. I'll get myself out of here in a sec. We can have a proper look at it. It doesn't really confirm much that we didn't already know, which is that we are getting kind of, it continues on from where the last one left off. Okay, there's a title treatment. We get a look at the shape. October 15, 2021. I'm going to let that replay there. Of course, that's iconic Halloween iconography. We always kind of see a pumpkin degraded for the logo, and normally it's like in the title sequences. They're in the back of the truck here, which was how the last film ended. I love this part, the intensity of this moment though. Holy shit, let him burn. That is so badass. Like, it's kind of interesting because, of course, one of the common complaints that we get is that how is Michael Myers still alive? And here they actually give an explanation. He's on fire and dying, but he's put out and saved. So it's a really simple explanation, but it works. And I don't know what this will mean. Does that mean he's going to have like a melted mask? Probably not. Because I don't know, sometimes they really, really struggle to get a mask right in some of the Halloween movies in the past. But yeah, that's getting a trailer for a movie that's so far away now is sort of a kick in the nuts, because like it's what 15 months away now, which is a downer. But it looks great. It's a really short trailer, but it really got me so hyped. It was such an intense piece of teasing footage. What the hell was that sentence? It's very intense, very incredibly shot. I love the the voice acting there. Just Jamie Lee Curtis like screaming. You can hear the agony in her voice. Like, oh, I loved it. Even though it was 30 seconds, and even though I'm waiting 15 months to see this movie. We heard a lot more. Apparently, like the kill count is going to be very, very high in this movie. And as we've heard before, they're bringing back other characters from the series, other characters who were in the first film even, and how they were affected. And apparently, it's going to be about them kind of coming together to try beat Michael Myers. Again, this is a 2-part film. So October 15th, 2021 is when we're getting Halloween Kills, and the following one will then be coming in 2022. I've forgotten the name of it. It's Halloween Kills again. I think it might be that. Anyway, not the only trailer we got, of course. We got a trailer for a movie that excited me, and then enraged me, and then I just dismissed it entirely, which was Die Hard. Okay? This is a comedy movie where Kevin Hart plays himself, and it's kind of a joke that, you know, he never gets the lead roles. It's always going to The Rock, and he wants to be a kind of an action hero, which is pretty cool. I like the concept of that, and he's playing himself. That sounds excellent and all that. But then we have the next problem, which is where the film is going to. Which, if you just check over here, Quibi. One of the most painful things about being away is I haven't been able to talk about Quibi. But one of the best parts of all of this pandemic and all this stuff has been reading and learning about Quibi. If you don't know what Quibi is quick bites. Quibi. It is a streaming service that you could for ages only get on your phone, and everything on it was only released in 10-minute or 5-minute chunks. Doesn't that sound like fun? You have to watch the shows on your phone, and you can only watch 10 minutes at a time. Yikes. Yeah, it's been a disaster. If you haven't followed Quibi, it's like, it's just arrogance, sheer fucking arrogance. It's Jeffrey Katzenberg, who of course was involved in Disney at one point and then was founded DreamWorks, and like there's been article upon article, think piece about Quibi constantly, like that are just tearing it apart, and reading the insight into it, it just sounds like, what the hell were you thinking? So it's Jeffrey Katzenberg, and it's, I think the other person's name is Megan Whitman. I think she was involved in eBay maybe. And the interviews I've seen with them are just outstanding. It's like a very softball question. One of the writers asks Megan Whitman, "Hey, you're in charge of a streaming service that shows movies and TV shows. What's your favorite show?" And Megan Whitman says, "I'm not really an entertainment person." You're in the entertainment business, Megan. Are you lost? Like, what a softball question. What shows you like? And then eventually she said something like, I quite like, on the History Channel, they have a show called Grant, which is a historical TV show about Ulysses S. Grant. Kids love Ulysses S. Grant. That's the thing. Like, they obviously want to gear this towards young people, towards like your generation that are constantly on their phones. But if they botched it so badly, like, because for one, they apparently, like, the way these people talk, it's like they don't know what kids are into anymore. Which, I know it sounds stupid of me to say, a man approaching his 30s, but like, one of the big things about a lot of streaming services, and you will see this with your Disney Plus, for example, Mandalorian, Baby Yoda went viral. They were talking about it on Twitter. Apparently you can't screenshot anything, and obviously that's a concern with privacy, but generally speaking, it's a big boost for your show if people can talk about it. No one is talking about Quibi except for the fact that it's failing. One of the only clips that went viral was like this horror short about a girl with a golden arm, and apparently it's hilariously bad. But someone had to film that on their phone for it to go viral. Like, I don't know, things like that could really help people talk about what you're offering. Like, we see shows that would not trend like in a regular environment, except for the fact that they're embracing social media, and Quibi's not doing that. Now, the other thing is, you're making an entertainment program and a streaming service that's geared towards teenagers. And when you look at the content they're offering, it really hasn't worked. I just realized I'm meant to be talking about Kevin Hart's movie, Die Hard. Look, Quibi is a disaster. Apparently, it's lost all but like 10% of its user base. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But maybe it's too late for them. Maybe they'll rebrand. I don't know. Regardless, it's been a really baffling thing. Which, by the way, Jeffrey Katzenberg was asked what his shows were, and he was like, he named like Jane Fonda fitness tapes. And like some show that's been over for 30 years. I can't even remember. That's how much of it was like, huh, what was that? And apparently, oh my god. Okay, this is all from an article on vulture.com, I think it is. I think the article is called "Is Anybody Watching Quibi?" Check it out. It's an amazing read that really just dives into the shitstorm that Quibi is. But Gal Gadot was like pitching a show about, hey, I want to do a show about empowering women and highlighting their stories. Perfect. Gal Gadot was Wonder Woman. What a layup. Jeffrey Katzenberg is in the room, and apparently he starts thinking about Jane Fonda fitness tapes, which he's often doing. And he looked at Gal Gadot, and he listened to her, and I think the show was actually happening, but he said something like, would you be interested in doing fitness tapes? And apparently the report said something like, Gal Gadot looked like she'd been slapped in the face or something like that, or her face fell flat. It's like, first of all, imagine being like, I have a show about really empowering women. They're like, yeah, you look good working out. Oh my god, Katzenberg. Oh no. Oh my god. And that's the problem. Even if there is something interesting on Quibi, it can't get past the fact that it got 10-minute bunches of shows that you're going to have to wait for the whole thing to be out. And it's just a pain. Like, to watch it on your TV, you have to like cast it from your phone. And apparently they really had to be forced into doing that. They were really kind of like, no, for ages. They just didn't want to commit to that. Anyway, Die Hard. I really like this trailer, but as I said, when I saw Quibi, it got me mad, and then it got me uninterested. I'll see if Quibi falls and where it ends up there. I'm not signing up for Quibi. I'm not paying for Quibi. It's not worth it. And by the way, I think even if you do pay for Quibi, like you can pay like $6 or something, and there's still ads in it, so fuck that. It looks like an interesting movie. Basically, the idea is, as we said, can I play this trailer again? Because I just talked all over it and shat on Quibi for the whole thing. Basically, the whole thing is that Kevin Hart is constantly being overlooked, okay? And when he finally gets his shot, he decides, hey, I can be an action hero, and he goes to get some training. There we go, trailer's playing again. So, he goes to get some action training because he's constantly being dismissed, and that action trainer is John Travolta. No, not John Travolta as himself, but Kevin Hart is playing himself. And it's kind of playing up the absurdity of, Kevin Hart as an action hero and real life scenarios, and it looks pretty funny, and there's a pretty good cast. There's Natalie Emmanuel is in it. A few other people are. There's Natalie Emmanuel there. You probably recognize her from Game of Thrones. There's a few other people in it that made me kind of go like, oh, this could be a good movie. But again, the release strategy is 10 minutes, starting on the 17th of July or something, or the 20th of July. First 10 minutes come out, then next 10 minutes, then next 10 minutes, then next 10 minutes. Nonsense. Really, really good way to kill your movie. Because who watches a movie in 10 minutes bursts? Like, whatever, if you release half of it one time and another half the other time, 10 minutes is ridiculous. Anyway, let's see what they have to say here in the trailer for Die Hard.
No, nothing.
Who else is here?
Just me. Rule number 2. When you're under this roof, your name is no longer Kevin. Have you ever heard an action star leading man ever called Kevin?
I mean, Kevin James and Mark.
No. Kevin is the name of a punk bitch.
Coach Ron is crazy. I'm serious. He's nuts.
I want you to storm the house, find the victim, and bring him to safety. A leading man must learn not to sweat the small stuff.
What are you talking about, the small stuff? I was on fucking fire, Coach Ron.
So, you're just gonna give up on your lifelong dream? This is your only shot to be a big action star.
You're right. I need a cowboy to fuck up.
Anyway, like I said, has a decent premise, has a decent idea. Certainly could be some funny moments. I'm interested in seeing this, but not in its current form on Quibi. Like 10-minute bursts. Get the hell out of here, man. Last one we got on another streaming service, and this is a TV trailer as opposed to a movie, is for The Boys Season 2. That's right, The Boys are back in town. I'm surprised we haven't got that in the marketing yet, but I'm sure we will someday. Okay, if you haven't seen the first season of The Boys, superhero series based on the comic, written by Gareth Ennis, and drawn by Derek Robinson, I think. And it's basically like a dark version of a superhero world. Like the superheroes are all pieces of shit, murdering, raping, and that kind of thing. And these guys, the boys, are like a force that takes these heroes down. 8 episodes on Amazon Prime. Even if you just get a trial on Amazon, watch the show. I thought it was fantastic. I'd read some of the comics, but the comics were like some of Gareth Ennis's work. Like he did Preacher as well. Sometimes he's just a little bit edgy on purpose. I feel like the show did a good job of like being reserved when it needed to, but not holding back on the absurdity of it all. It was totally ridiculous. A lot of fun. Anyway, it was like, it's a great comedy, but also it's dark, and there's some really good drama involved in it. This is them coming back here for season 2. Let's see if we can have a listen here. It was incredibly strange. That's a look at our character Stormfront there. He's seemingly bursting out of it. So as you can see, that was it's violent. It's kind of kooky and weird and funny, but it's also really entertaining. It's not a total like dark, violent fest like a lot of the superhero stuff that we kind of get at times. It's satirical, I wouldn't say it's satirical at times. It's more satirical of like the kind of current cultural landscape with all the superhero stuff, and it does it relatively well. It's not like it's not something entirely like groundbreaking, but I thought it was really, really entertaining. And the second season, it certainly seems like is going to be more of the same, which isn't a bad thing, because like an 8-episode season that's really consistent is great. Last season ended on a cliffhanger. We're also apparently going to get a short film with Carl Urban's character Billy the Butcher, which could be pretty good. I kind of feels like, why couldn't you just put that into the show, like a separate short film? I mean, if it's a short film, why not just put those minutes into one of the episodes? I mean, I don't know. Regardless, the boys are coming back September 4th, as it says here, right behind me on my green screen. Look how cool. Not a lot to say. It was a really good trailer, set to We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel. Really showing the tension as the boys are now on the run and the heroes are trying to kind of get them. We got to look at a new hero, Stormfront, who, as my understanding, I don't know if I came across, her in the books. I think this is actually a character that's been gender swapped, but that character is a Nazi in the books as far as I know, and he kind of leads a separate bunch of heroes, not the Seven, which is the kind of Justice League in the boys universe. Yeah, great trailer. Really enjoyed it. Really looking forward to the show. It's such a shame it's not here during the summer, man, because there's nothing else on. And the first season was out during the summer, but September 4th, as I mentioned in a test broadcast before, the release strategy for it isn't all the episodes at once anymore. I think the first 3 episodes are coming out September 4th, and then it's like weekly after that, which I think you're going to see more of that in the streaming landscape, to be honest. I think it's going to be weekly, because if you can stretch things out like that, you're going to get people for 2 months instead of 1. So, yeah, The Boys Season 2 coming September 4th on Amazon. New trailer. Really enjoyed it. And that brings us on to another feature that is returning, and that is The One That I Watch. And I actually have some music for this one. I just don't have graphics. Well, here we go. You're the one that I watch. Ho, ho, ho. I know it's so lame to laugh my own shit, but that's perfect. I love that so much. Okay, the one that I watch. Well, I haven't really had a show in like 4 months, so I've probably watched a lot of stuff. I won't get into all of it. What am I watching at the moment? I'll talk about kind of a few of the big titles that came out, I guess, on demand. I haven't watched many of them. I watched Scoob, which is, of course, the Scooby-Doo reboot that we discussed on the podcast before. God, that show, that was awful, in my opinion. It was exactly what I feared the trailer was, which was it wasn't sure what it wanted to be, but it knew it didn't want to be a Scooby-Doo movie. It was like a superhero movie. Like, it focused more on, is it Blue Falcon, a character Mark Wahlberg votes, because it wants, not votes, voices, because I guess it wants to be kind of like more of a superhero show than anything else, which is a real shame, because the kind of Scooby-Doo stuff, there is no real, like, let's see who's behind this mystery plot. It's like a weird action superhero movie with Scooby-Doo in it, and then it's also half a prequel, and it's also like a Hanna-Barbera crossover. Like, I mentioned all of this stuff before, when I saw the trailers, and I'm speculating. And what was weird is that normally when I speculate, I'm way off. I was really right about this. It tries to be a prequel, and it's pretty good. Actually, the start of it, I was like, yeah, this isn't bad. This is kind of an interesting kind of take on, the Scooby-Doo origin, and it kind of got a little bit to a point then where it just lost the plot. Because it then becomes superhero film with Blue Falcon, and it becomes kind of sci-fi with all the space stuff. This really big budget weird stuff that has nothing to do with Scooby-Doo. Like, not really much supernatural stuff even. And then it becomes an awkward Hanna-Barbera crossover where it's like, I mean, was it Captain Caveman? Isn't it? Briefly, for some reason. And then, of course, our villain is Dick Dastardly and Muttley, isn't it? It's like baffling. I don't know what they were thinking, but it was a disaster in my opinion. Some of the voice acting was good, and I kind of generally liked the animation. But I mean, I can't imagine it did too great when it went straight to VOD. I to be honest, I'm not too interested in seeing more of this movie anyway, or sequels or anything. It really missed the mark. They just didn't really know what to do with it, and instead they said, let's make a superhero movie, because that's what everyone's doing. Yeah, it wasn't a Scooby-Doo movie, and it's not like I'm like, oh, I want a Scooby-Doo movie, because I mean, I don't want something that's like, your 60s TV show. I don't know if that works anymore, but whatever it was, this didn't work either. I don't think I've watched many other movies that went on demand, to be honest, because generally speaking, a lot of the movies that have gone on demand have been like, meh. It's like, yeah, I wouldn't have seen that in cinemas, so I'm not going to watch it now either, really. Like, there's two I want to watch. I haven't watched it. King of Staten Island is one I want to watch. I want to watch, it just came out, Palm Springs on Hulu. But aside from that, it's like, it's not anything great coming out at the moment, which is understandable. I've mostly been watching TV. Some old stuff, some relatively new stuff. Well, I mean, I guess the old thing I should talk about, I spent a lot of lockdown watching it, is Frasier, which is, it sounds, I don't know why I'm reviewing Frasier. What year is this? But, like, it's one of those shows that, like, I've heard about a million times. I knew about it, obviously. But when you think, like, the great comedies everyone's always on about, like Seinfeld, Friends, and, like, that era of TV. And Frasier was on at the same time, but it never really discussed in the same breath as those. I think it deserves to be, man. It's an excellent show. It's like, it's not like it sounds like, I think a lot of people had the perception as like it's really highbrow, but it's kind of not really. It's like a traditional sitcom, and even the highbrow references aren't that highbrow. You get them, and really, really funny. I love the characters in the show, and it's also really consistent. I've watched the first 10 seasons, and there's a few kind of like gaps where you're like, oh, why are they doing this? And there's a few times where you're like, the past seasons are better. But generally, it's a really consistent show. Like, it's still really good into its 10th season, but the first 5 seasons especially are just excellent. I mean, yeah, David Hyde Pierce and Kelsey Grammer are just so excellent at it. I know it's weird to be reviewing Frasier in the year 2020, but there you go. Harley Quinn wrapped up its 2nd season, the anime one. I've been preaching the gospel of the show for ages. It's excellent. I just watch it. I can't say anything more. I think if you're in Ireland, actually, the first season I won 4OD. But yeah, really, really funny show. As I mentioned before, it's like almost like an animated Batman show, like Batman the Animated Series. Like, it feels like it's kind of faithful to that in a lot of ways. But the humor is kind of like something like Rick and Morty. Which, speaking of Rick and Morty, second half of Rick and Morty. I don't know, man. I think Rick and Morty's fallen off a cliff a bit. It was fine, but one of the things that really was really good about Rick and Morty before was that it like felt unexpected. Now it feels very obvious. It feels like they don't have anything new to bring to the table, and someone actually said to me, they were like, I didn't even realize Rick and Morty was back. And I was like, yeah, I think they've really cut the momentum of the show off by releasing 5-episode chunks, like with 2-year gaps in between seasons. I think they've really damaged the show. Like, it's just not as hot as it was. I think the quality isn't as good as it was either, but it was still pretty good. I mean, there was some good episodes in there, but again, like, it's hard to get excited for just 5 episodes, in my opinion. So I don't know. It was fine. What else did I watch? Oh, the most. Okay, actually, I'll come back to what I was going to talk about. You're all like, what was it? What is he about to talk about? It's just a really boring show that I'll talk about at length for a little bit. So one of the movies I did watch on demand as well was the Impractical Jokers movie. I've actually just remembered because I am watching Impractical Jokers at the moment. It's just which is a great, fun show, a lot of fun, very kind of comfortable show. You don't have to get too invested in it, and it generally delivers some great laughs. But the movie, I was pretty excited for this. It's, as you can imagine, a big budget version of the show. Now, here's the big thing: when you have a TV show and you bring it to a movie, you're like, what justifies it being a movie? What's the big thing going to be? How is this going to feel like a movie? And my biggest problem was that the Impractical Jokers movie kind of didn't feel like it. Like, there's the odd like bit or prank that was like, oh, that's cool. That's something big. Like, there's one point they put like a tiger in one of the guys' room, which was excellent. Really good moment. But the other thing is, and if you've ever seen Impractical Jokers, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, right? I love the hidden camera stuff. I love when they're talking to earpieces, and they're all really funny guys in that. But the kind of bits in between, and the guys' like sense of humor and like comedy in those moments, like the stuff that's kind of scripted, never really worked for me. I don't find them that funny, generally speaking. And the problem with this is that a lot of the movie is like scripted comedy stuff. It reminds me of Jackass Bad Grandpa, where it's like hidden camera stuff, the pranks, really, really good. But the kind of in-between bits, you're like, it's not that funny. Can we get back to the good stuff? And like the Impractical Jokers movie has like a weird plot of like they're trying to get tickets to, what's her name again? American Idol judge, Paula Abdul. And it's like, just not really funny, just not great comedy at all. And a lot of the movie takes that part up. And the other problem is that a lot of the pranks don't really feel like they were justified to be a movie. It's like there's like a few good moments, but overall I was a bit disappointed for it. Overall, I also just remembered another movie I watched. It's because it's of a similar vein, called Bad Trip, with Eric Andre, Lil Ray Howery, I think the other guy's name is, and Tiffany Haddish. This is very like Bad Grandpa, actually, in that it's a plot, and then there's hidden camera pranks, and it's actually produced by Dickhouse Entertainment. I don't know, Gorilla Flicks is what they're called now, because I guess they figured Dickhouse wasn't a good name for a production company. So yeah, it's produced by the guys who gave us Jackass and Bad Grandpa and all those. This is weird because I kind of at the time when I was watching it, I was like, it's pretty good. Thinking back at it though, I like it a lot more. This is one that just pushed the insanity of the hidden cameras like out there. Like, and this is kind of what I wanted the Impractical Jokers movie to be in some way. I wanted it to like push the limit. Now, to be fair, Bad Trip had a big kind of production company behind it. I believe their movie was independent, but there's moments where there's like just it's total insanity, total weirdness. Naturally, it's Eric Andre, so you expect a bit of that weird surreal humor. There's a moment where like a gorilla rapes a guy. It's so lowbrow and stupid, but there's just all these people watching it, and just their reactions is excellent. Like hanging someone off a building. It's pretty lowbrow and pretty stupid, but it's also pretty funny. That's probably one of the better comedies I've watched, but I haven't watched that many of the new ones that have been released on video on demand, at least from memory I can think of. TV shows, as I said, aside from that, there's Netflix has kind of saved a lot of people with stuff to watch. I watched the first few episodes of the Jeffrey Epstein series, Filthy Rich. What can I say about that? It's horrifying. The only reason I bring that up is because to escape from that world, I watched the most mindless show that anyone is watching at the moment, and that is Floor is Lava on Netflix. this is like, a lot of people have talked about this, and it's pretty entertaining, but it's also like, I don't think I've ever watched a show so passively and so switched off as I have this show. I think I enjoy it. But I can't ever be like, that was great. Oh, that was funny. Generally speaking, I'm just like sitting on the couch like this, and then something happens, and I'm like, like it gets no reaction out of me at times. It's like, if you don't know what it is, like Floor is Lava, obviously it's what it sounds like as a game. The floor is lava, you can't touch the floor, and they've taken it to like a next level. That's the sort of game you play in your sitting room. Now they have like massive obstacles, and they have like, you know, goo for lava. And the setup of the show, and I really don't know if I like the setup of it either. You have 3 groups per show, and they all have the one challenge. So it's like 3 groups of 3, and it goes by whoever gets the most people cross wins, and if they all get the same amount of people cross, it goes by time. Makes perfect sense. The problem is, right, compare this to shows like this, like Wipeout, or Takeshi's Castle, I guess, or Ninja Warrior. Those are the ones that popped in my head. The problem I have with this one, though, is like, the prize is so shit. It feels like the people playing don't care. It's like the prize, right? And remember, this is Netflix. They're like the media giant Netflix, who are paying Martin Scorsese so much money to ruin his movies. The prize is 10 grand and a lava lamp. That's not 10 grand each or a lava lamp each. That's 10 grand between 3 people and a shit lava lamp. And it's like, it's not enough money to the point that anyone really cares. Like, it feels like people are just like, oh, I'm gonna fall in the lava. Oh, I fell in the lava. Oh, shucks. Like, when you watch American Ninja Warrior, you're like, holy shit, this guy is nuts. This guy's like, I'm not gonna fail. I'm a Marine. Ah. But here it's like a mother and her kids, and they're like, yeah, we're just here for fun. I'm gonna use this money to buy some groceries, and then this is painfully accurate if you've seen the show. And they're like, oh, I'm gonna jump on this. Oh, Mom, can you get over here? I fell in the lava. And then it's just like, hey, well, Mom, we lost Mom. And they do, the only time they ever care is when they have to act melodramatically, because like they don't like, they're obviously, as you would in the show, they're playing up that the goo is actually lava. So once they fall in, they get these reactions like, no, and they get like, they cut away so the person can probably. I really want to see it behind the scenes, because like the way it works, I looked it up. I'm assuming what it is that when they're climbing, like say you're stuck on like a net, and your brother is on a kitchen table and slides into lava, and then it's like, oh, he's done for. They'll, I guess, stop the game. You react like, no! And they'll film you, and then your brother awkwardly shuffles out of the lava. So, like, I want to see behind the scenes where they're like, no! Meanwhile, your mom is just, like, doggy paddling through this goo and climbing off, sliding all over the place. Like, that's the thing. No one on the show, like, of the competitors really seems to care. They're just joking. And I'd prefer if it was a bit more competitive. Because, oh, like, it's such a... As again, I don't really care if they make it more competitive. Like, this is just something I'm like... Where I'm like, I don't really want to watch this show. I don't really want to watch that show. Just throw this on in the background. I throw it on when I'm editing or something. Where I'm like, oh, I missed that. Oh, who cares? Like, it's mindless. It's... I won't even say it's entertaining. It's kind of fine. It won't piss you off. It won't make you mad like most of the things in the world at the moment. Is that a recommend? Also, don't get like the host. The host is this guy. I don't even know his name. Apparently, he's been on TV before. I think they were joking when they were like, in the first episode, they're like, the winner will get 10 grand. This lava lamp. And I can't remember. They called the lava lamp something fancy. And they're like, and a chance to meet me. And I assume that was a joke, because like, I'm like, who is this guy? He's not particularly funny. He's not really famous. He's just a guy, really. I don't know. Anyway, Floor is Lava on Netflix. If you're looking for some mindless entertainment to take your mind off the world as a whole, I mean, any distraction from the reality of the world at the moment will do it. And Floor is Lava is certainly that. I guess the last thing I want to talk about for the one that I watched is I actually went to the cinema. What was that? What was that? The Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music. That's not. I did a better job doing the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire music when I wasn't trying to do it than when I did do it. What is that? That's a bit better. Right, so I went to the cinema. Cinemas are reopened here in Ireland, sort of, or at least in phase reopening. I went to see Batman Begins. Of course, we all know Batman Begins. We've seen it a million times. I forgot how damn good that movie is, man. Yeah, it's freaking excellent. Like, I go back and forth, but I actually think, having watched it again, I think I might prefer Batman Begins to Dark Knight. I think that's like, it might be one of the best Batman movies. It's like before Nolan was kind of ashamed that he was making a Batman movie. You know what I mean? Like, there's moments where, like, in some of the later movies, it feels like he's like, that's a bit too much like Batman. That's too much, too comic booky. This one has like some kind of comic book stylist stuff. Like, you know, it's like it's got that kind of flair to it. Whereas Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises kind of feel more like crime movies, you know. Whereas this feels more like a comic book movie, which I enjoy. I just think that like the way the origin is done is excellent. And I don't just mean like his parents getting shot. God knows we've seen that enough now. But like, just even like, this is how Batman became Batman. Here's how he picked up his martial arts style. Here's kind of where he learned languages, him traveling around the world. It's just so well done. Like, I think that, like, genuinely, I feel like that should be his origin, definitively. He was trained by the League of Shadows. Or is it it's the League of Shadows in the movie? I think it's the League of Assassins in comics, right? It's just excellent. I love that movie. The main reason I actually brought up wasn't to talk about how great Batman Begins was, not to review a 15-year-old movie that everyone already loves, but to talk about the cinema at the moment, which is weird. As I said, we're in Ireland, so things are kind of not normal, but going to the cinema at least has started. The measures that they're taking in the cinema is that it locks the seats in front and behind of you and to the side of you. 2 seats to the sides, 2 seats to the front, etc. So it gives you kind of a buffer zone. You book all your stuff online. You can even book your food online. And yeah, I can't say I felt entirely safe there because it was a pretty busy cinema, and like I made sure that I wasn't really near anyone. And meanwhile, someone just booked behind me, so there was 3 groups of people like right behind me diagonally, because that they don't lock the diagonal seat. And it was like, some people aren't taking it seriously, so I don't know. I'm not sure how often I'm going to be going to cinema. We'll have to see. Masks aren't mandatory in cinemas in Ireland. I did wear my mask the whole time. Very frustrating when you wear glasses because it's constantly fogging up. But there you go. Yeah, cinemas at the moment are weird because we're in a state where if new movies are going to come, they're pretty much going to come from America. And America can't get the virus under control at the moment. And as long as that is the case, we're not going to get new movies. So I don't know. At the moment, we're getting a lot of kind of classic movies, which I'm totally okay with. There's some movies where I'm like I've seen all of the Nolan Batman movies except Batman Begins on the big screen. So I was like, this is a good opportunity. And it's nice to see some of the older movies kind of get a chance, but I don't know how sustainable this is, and I don't know when we're going to get new movies on the big screen. But it was kind of a novelty. So anyway, that's the one that I watch. Not a great send off, but there you go. I guess that kind of brings us to the end. I'm going to do a segment that I did last time on the last episode. I've only done it once actually, I think, because it was in our last episode, and then things kind of finished off a bit. But what we're going to do is useless IMDb trivia, which, if you're not aware, it's exactly what it sounds like. I go to IMDb, I pick a movie that we were talking about over the course of the show, I find a useless bit of trivia, and laugh at it, normally, or just discuss it, which is hilarious, because if you don't know, IMDb's trivia section, anyone can add to it. A lot of the facts are made up, and it's pretty entertaining. So, here we go, useless IMDb trivia.
All trivia may be useless, but no trivia is more useless than useless IMDb trivia. And that's a piece of trivia too.
Kudos to the voice actor, he did an excellent job. Okay, so we're on the IMDb, and I am looking up Batman Begins, as we just discussed. This is cool, I haven't used this in stream before. Batman Begins, okay, so we go up here to trivia. And I'm going to go down to the end. So obviously this is sight unseen because it was not very fun if I just, I'm like, oh, I read this earlier. Let me pretend to laugh. Okay, I can actually scroll down here. Or maybe I can't. Well, that's a bummer. Help. Let's see if we can do this again. Batman Begins trivia. As I said, I haven't done this part before. Scroll, damn you, scroll. Christian Bale's active dislike of his uncomfortable Batman outfit helped his performance as the Dark Knight, as he was perpetually in a foul mood while wearing it. I mean, I don't think that's excuses to the Batman outfit. Have you seen his fucking Terminator Salvation thing? I think he's just grouchy in general. Okay, I can't get to scroll there. I'll see if I can fix that for the next time. But instead, I've gone to the IMDb page which I had here as a backup. Always be prepared. Okay, and a very bottom piece of trivia for Batman Begins. In this, the first of the trilogy, Bruce says to Alfred, "You haven't given up on me yet," to which Alfred replies, "Never." Well, actually, if you've seen the movie, he goes, "Never, never." He says it so really. Never, never, never. I think there was a Twitter thing going around with that, about how Nolan directed him to say that. And it's fucking amazing. Where the guy's just like, "Never!" It's such a weird reading. And I was like, when you watch something and you're like, does anyone else think that's weird? No, just me. And then someone else is like, hey, that was weird, right? I'm glad I wasn't the only one to be like, that's a really weird reading of that line. Where he's like, "You haven't given up on me, Alfred." And it's like he's still in the Muppet movie, except he's a fucking Muppet because he just sits forward like, okay. Sorry, let me set the scene. I know we're getting way off track here. It's Batman Begins, okay? Batman is at his lowest point. His mansion is just blown up. He's at the bottom of the Batcave. The elevator is looking up, and the house is destroyed, covered in flames. The Wayne legacy is dead. This is me trying to psych up Michael Caine to deliver this line. Christian Bale, we want you to reference how basically you're at one of your lowest points, and you realize that all you have left in the world is Alfred. And Alfred gives you some words of encouragement. He speaks to you like your father did. He says, "Is there an Oscar for podcasts?" Because I want one. He says, "Why do we fall, Master Wayne?" And he goes, "Alfred, you haven't given up on me yet." I can't do a good Christian Bale. And then Michael Caine goes, and he's like slightly away, and he kind of awkwardly hunches into the camera like this. He goes, "Never." It's really weird. It's like someone had to poke him with a stick. It's like he forgot his line. It's like, Michael Caine, "Never. Never. Never." Okay. We're way off track. Anyway, you haven't given up on me yet. Let me start again. Okay, this is useless IMDb trivia. This podcast is a train wreck, dude. In this, the first of the trilogy, Bruce says to Alfred, "You haven't given up on me yet." To which Alfred replies, "Never." Disappointingly and perhaps uncharacteristically, that is exactly what Alfred done in The Dark Knight Rises, the third film, deserting him at the time he needed him most. Oh, that is a salty fanboy. Do you hear that? That's not even trivia. That's just like, he said he'd never give up on him. Why did he give up on him? I don't know. Oh, that's... What a bitch, man. He's like, I'm going to call Christopher Nolan on this. No. What I'm going to do, I'm going to leave it in trivia. And it's like 2 of 6 people apparently agree with him. He said, "Don't you remember? He was in the movie and he said, 'Never.' And then he said, he will quit, actually." Which, I don't know why that's funny. It just feels like such sour grapes. And you just know that didn't come from a place of like just reflection, like, he said he wouldn't give up on him, but he actually did. That was just him back in 2012. He was watching Dark Knight Rises, and Michael Caine comes in and is like, "I won't bury another Wayne," or whatever he says, and walks off. And then that guy was in the seat like, "He said never." Anyway, that was well, I don't know what that was. That was a podcast, sort of. It was a live podcast, not to you if you're watching this probably. But it was a kind of a taste, as I said, of what the podcast is going to be. And I promise it will be better, will be more structured. This is just me ironing out the final kinks. There's going to be graphics, music, and possibly a co-host. We'll have to see. But I hope you enjoyed it. This is the Pop Cult Pod Live. If you enjoyed it, If you're watching this somehow and it's not on the regular Pop Cult Pod channel, check out Pop Cult Pod on YouTube. Podcasts are going up there along with a lot of stuff. I'm so excited to be relaunching. I've got a lot of stuff to do, and I cannot wait. Hope you enjoyed this, and remember, I can't spell cult without you.
Live from the garden.
This podcast is a train wreck, dude. That wasn't very good.